Hey, assalamu alaikum gang. Welcome back. Haven't posted a video in a while. Ramadan Mubarak for all those celebrating Ramadan. But yeah, actually there was some stuff that came in between for a couple of weeks, so we really couldn't do any videos, but now we're exactly up to the head. So I think we have a previous video as well that we haven't posted yet, so you might see a prior video after this introduction. So we'll see what we have over there. So this is the cylinder head. What we're going to do right now is basically take off the rocker arm assembly. Before we do that, we're just going to take off the distributor, clean up some space here so that we have more access to everything. So this is the distributor cap. We're going to take this off first, take off any other hoses that are kind of in the way, and then get to the rocker arm assembly, and we'll record once we're up to that. So I'll point out, this is the intake side. Well, since you're here already, this is the exhaust side right here, indicated to us by the power steering pump. That's not the power steering pump, but the actual assembly that holds the pump is right here. So here's our exhaust side. Steven, if you want to show them the intake side, it's right here. It's probably a little dark for you guys, so apologize about that, but here's the intake side. So we're gonna clean this bad boy up too later on. But for now, that's where we're at. So you'll see us updating you in a few.
Assalamu alaikum gang, how you guys doing? I got me, myself, Steven, and Fahad guest starring one more time. Alright, so guys, we actually got a lot of headway onto the engine. A lot of this stuff we didn't record for you to document, because it was essentially putting back the counterbalance shafts. So we got 1 and 2 right here. So yeah, you could get that, Steven. We put on the oil pump assembly. I don't know if you could see those, like the red markings inside, but we used a high temperature sealant gasket maker to get that reddish look that you're looking at. That's to basically put on the oil pump assembly, as well as the right cover assembly, which is here. I know it's hard to see because it's all bolted in, but this part right here was the oil cover, the right cover assembly. And then we have the oil pump assembly like we pointed out before. So all we did was we lubricated this with like molybdenum disulfide. It's a lubricant that's used to, I guess it's water resistant. So yeah, whatever, we don't need to advertise. So, Fahad, why don't you grab this? So this is our old oil pump assembly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So be careful with the oil. Yeah. Alright, so this is our old oil pump assembly, which we changed. So essentially we have the oil pump gear that goes into here. We have one of the countershaft balances in here, and then the crankshaft seal right here. So that's exactly what you're seeing right down here. Okay. Then we put on the oil pump assembly. This is what grabs oil from the oil pan, and once the engine is started, the positive displacement pump, which is right here, the oil pump, spins to pull in oil from the bottom of the oil pan to circulate it into its oil galleries that lubricate the crankshaft, as well as the components surrounding the piston chambers. So that's essentially what we've done. And now what we're going to do is, again, we're not going to document it, but we're going to put the oil pan gasket on right here. And then with that being done, we've pretty much finished the long block assembly, which has taken us about 9 months to do. So again, it's not because it took 9 months, it's because we all had different responsibilities. Steven had school, midterms. We pretty much took January, February off. So not much to do. So Fahad, well, let's get Fahad to kind of like look at this engine and talk to us a little bit about what he's seen. He's only been with us for the last 2 weeks.
Right.
But you know, share any words of wisdom or what you've learned, or if you have any questions, maybe we could answer it for you.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, you know, when you were saying that this portion of it basically sucks the oil and lubricates the different moving parts. I was wondering, what kind of mechanism does it actually use to basically suck the oil in there.
Okay, so essentially we're coming back to this portion right here.
Okay.
This is something called, again, this is going to be rotated via a belt.
Yeah, it's going to have a belt.
So it kind of siphons. Think of like a straw.
Oh, okay.
Like that kind of movement is happening in here. It's a positive displacement pump.
Right.
So the pump, you know, creates a vacuum.
Yeah.
That vacuum then sucks in the oil from here. And then once the oil is channeled, it's forced into the galleries.
Right.
So again, we don't have it documented here, but within the bearings itself, the main bearing caps, there are little tiny holes. Those are called oil galleries.
Okay.
So those oil galleries are, you know, forced through this pump to go in through the oil galleries to lubricate the bearings, the main bearings, the rod bearings, and essentially create like this bearing. Well, that's what the oil works as. It's like many bearings within the bearing to lubricate the...
So it's not metal on metal, but oil on metal.
Okay.
So it creates a thin little layer. It's like bubbles. It's like microscopic bubbles that are like almost like ball bearings.
Okay.
So that's how that works. And again, it's a very, you know, simple concept of a positive displacement pump, whereas your we don't have it installed yet, but the water pump is a zero displacement pump.
Right.
So that, it basically just spins.
Okay.
It doesn't create a vacuum, it doesn't do anything. So as long as there's fluid flowing, it'll just circulate it.
Right.
Whereas the oil pump, it's actually moving it.
Okay.
So that actually helps because when the thermostat closes, you're not creating you're not creating pressure that'll like blow. The antifreeze won't have anywhere to go, and you know, with liquid, the way it works is any type of pressure that you build has to go somewhere. Liquid is incompressible.
Right.
So if it doesn't, then you'll explode something.
Yeah, you'll destroy something.
So
that's why liquid in the pistons is horrible.
Yeah. So I mean, we got a very good portion of this thing done. We were quite surprised since, you know, it took us such a long time to disassemble and assemble this back that we didn't realize that we're pretty close to finishing the long block assembly. So once we do this, the long block is done. Then we're going to start our great project on the head, or the top short block portion of the engine. So what we're going to do is just pause this for now. We'll get this situated, the oil pan and the gasket situated, and then we'll come back and wrap up and finalize. So until we see you again, peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace out, guys.
Alright gang, so all we've done so far is we loosened the adjusting screws and the camshaft holder bolts. There's a particular sequence to it. It's really a crisscross pattern from like the outside moving in. In the manual you'll actually see that it's that there's a particular sequence. So what you want to do is follow that sequence, and now what we've been able to do is we've been able to loosen this whole assembly, and I'm hoping that, you know, we can just lift this out now. And you'll see this is the holder for the cam right there. Boom. What we're going to attempt next is we're going to move this, and we're going to start taking out the springs and the valves so that we could do a cleanup in here. And then what we'll do is once we get all those things out, we'll start I guess cleaning out the cylinder head.
And then we also got to replace some seals that are like right under.
Yeah, see if you can see that.
You see those black little rings?
Just point to it with your finger.
Right there. We gotta replace those.
Okay. We'll come back to you guys. Alright guys, so what we did was we bought this little spring compressor tool, and it didn't work because I couldn't get it to fit. So what we did is improvise a little bit. I don't know if I'll need another tool later on to compress the springs. Well, we already took out the intake side of the springs. Make sure you're so the intake side of the springs we already took out, and I just wanted to demonstrate how we're doing this with like a hammer, a little magnet thing that we took off of one of these magnet holders,
and a
so
12mm socket.
on a 12mm socket. We're going to use that to kind of just hit it with the hammer, compress it with the spring so that we can get off the keepers. Once we get off the keepers, the spring will uncompress and the valve keepers will come out, and then the valve will come out. So we've had some trouble with it, but you know, hopefully we don't. Just move your fingers a little bit lower so you don't get hit. So all it is just hitting it with the tap, like kind of tapping it with, I'm using a rubber mallet, not a hammer. Tapping with the rubber mallet so that these keepers can come loose, so that everything else can come loose. So So usually it doesn't happen in one try. It's supposed to, but it doesn't. So let's see what happens. Alright, so this was the trouble we were having before. We're not able to really tap it with the spring, so we're just going to keep trying until we hit it. Hopefully we don't have to do too many of these, so we're wasting the video. You want to, or you just want to hold it without the rag?
Magnet probably will come on.
Just try to tap it hard.
There you go.
Alright, so that's a demonstration of what you want, what you expect.
We
We're
gotta
using the
watch
magnet because we don't want the keepers to fly out, so these are the keepers.
You gotta watch out for these.
What we'll do is, why don't we take out the exhaust valve right now. This is exhaust valve number 1. So now that we did this, you can actually take out the valve. Lift it a little bit. The gasket's on, so it's making it lift the head. Keep lifting. All right. So there's my exhaust valve. Careful. This is what the exhaust valve looks like. You got your face, you got your stem, and then this is where the valve keepers go on. So you want to just show them with the valve keeper, like how it goes on and holds it. So this assembly, where's the spring?
Spring right.
Alright. So the spring and everything rest on this right here, like so. And what holds this whole assembly in place are these keepers.
They have these little grooves in them. You're not gonna be able to see them, but
Actually zoom in, see if, not zoom in, but just go closer to the camera and see if you can see them.
see those little grooves. Well, that keeps the
Yeah,
valve from coming off the
so
spring.
put it on and then we'll demonstrate how it actually works. So the tension from the valve keeper goes like this and it holds. You see, like I'm pushing up the spring, but nothing's happening. Like it's not getting out of place, and that's exactly what happens in the engine. So once we tap it with the hammer, what's happening is this is coming loose. Once this comes loose, the keepers can just come off. So it's actually held solely with compressional forces. Pretty cool. Alright, and I think with that we'll do the rest of the aid and not bore you with the detail on this, but that's essentially what we did. So